Alrighty, I think whoa, I think we're finally ready to start heading on down Victory Road and seeing what we have here. I might wind up using a lot of repels. We shall see. Haven't done Mount Coronet yet, but that's either here or there. We'll do it later. Let's do Victory Road for now. I don't know if we'll do the, whoa, that seemed a little bit bugged. I don't know if we'll actually do like the League this session, but we may as well unlock it as like a fast travel point. Also, hello, Twitch boy Jimmy. How are you doing today? Remember back in Sword and Shield, they removed heart scales so you can make your Pokemon relearn the move without them? Guess what? We're bringing back heart scales because we want this game to be faithful. Yeah. At least back in the day, I got like a bazillion heart scales from like mining all the time because I was addicted back then. Anyway, on the subject of talking about like what future games we'd be covering on this channel, Guzma there was asking about like, what about Zelda games and what the future of Zelda might be on this channel. I know that there will be Breath of the Wild 2 that we do when it comes out next year. And, like, I might make some more progress in Age of Calamity. All of our story stuff for both Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity is done, but I do want to finish off all of the shrines of Breath of the Wild. I think there's only, like, I think there's less than 10 left, and then we'll have 100%ed, like, the shrines, at least, for getting that. I very much like to do that before Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, so we'll do a smidge more of that, and we might do some more Age of Calamity. So I don't really think I have, like, the space to do, like, a completely different Zelda game playthrough, like, before Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. I'll probably be focusing on other games, while occasionally trickling in, like, a smidge of maybe some more Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity leading up to Breath of the Wild 2's release. Maybe, is what I'm thinking. For after Breath of the Wild sequel release, though, once we've done everything with that, which, you know, doing, like, a trickle of Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity, and then doing, like, all our stuff that we want to do on Breath of the Wild 2. That's probably already, like, the grand scheme of what we're going to be doing when it comes to the Zelda series in 2022, most likely. That's probably it for, like, 2022, most likely, because I feel like when the Breath of the Wild sequel releases, it's probably going to, like, consume my life for a while, you know? So, considering all the other games going on, I don't really want to cram another Zelda game into there. So, that might be all that we do during the course of 2022. But, after that, one day I would definitely for sure like to cover Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And one day we'll also for sure be doing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Doing Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. Which I still haven't quite decided if I do it on my Wii U or emulate it on my PC. I'm kind of leaning towards emulating on my PC. Is what I am kind of leaning towards. That way I can show like my gamepad screen on the stream layout and whatnot. But we shall see. One day I would definitely like to do both A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. Like I actually 100%ed A Link to the Past when I was in high school, and I did it on my phone on emulator on that. And let me just tell you, the freaking Ice Temple with, you know, touchscreen controls for the D-pad. Oh my goodness, that was painful. But I'd very much like to do A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds one day as well. So, for the future of the Zelda games that we'll for sure cover on this channel one day, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD. We've already done Skyward Sword twice. Is there any other big Zelda game that I want to cover eventually? I don't think I'd want to do the Zelda CDI games unless I was playing it like with a buddy and we could just like laugh at it together. Someone who's preferably not super duper familiar with it. And we could get some laughs there. I don't know if I'd ever see myself playing like Zelda 1 or 2 from back in the day. Are there any other Zelda games that I'm missing that I want to play? I don't think I could see myself playing the DS games. I don't know if they're quite for me. I don't know if I probably wouldn't play Triforce Heroes or anything like that. So yeah, it's probably just those most likely. Most likely. But yeah, what about other games like Tales of Void, Tales of the Abyss? It depends on how things work out. Why am I like above B-Barrel? That is not even close to lined up. What? What the hell? Because believe you me, once you see like the amounts of like editing that's going into the Minecraft stuff, you'll understand how much that's bogging me down. Because I've been putting a lot of hours in. I only have the first 2 episodes done, like editing wise, right now at the time of shooting this, and I'm about to start editing the 3rd very soon here. And oh my goodness gracious, it's certainly something. So, you know, Like, I could do something like those at some point, but be aware that there are a lot of games that I want to do eventually. Like, I still need to, like, let's see, what's the stuff that we have coming up here? Because of Splatoon 3, I am definitely going to want to do Splatoon 2 and its DLC at some point next year before Splatoon 3's release. As I mentioned before, there's the smidge of Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity stuff before Breath of the Wild sequel. I don't know when Metroid Prime 4 is releasing, nobody does. But because it's a thing that's happening, I want to do the Metroid Prime trilogy at some point before that. Because of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I'm going to want to finish off the original Mario plus Rabbids DLC first. We've already finished the game for that. Let's see here. That's all like the big action items there. But there's also things like the last route that I'm missing in Fire Emblem Three Houses, the other routes that I have to do in Fire Emblem Fates, us continuing with the Assassin's Creed series as we have scheduled here in the near future. A whole bunch of stuff like that. The Pokemon stuff that we're doing. Like, it's there's too many games, too little time. Like, the Tales series is just one of those games on like the mental list of like, I want to do more titles someday when I have the chance. But when I have the chance, I might prioritize some of these other games anyway, just because there's so many freaking things I want to do. So I don't think that I can make any promises for Tales anytime soon. Like, I can make promises for Tales of Arise to finish that off. It's already an over 100-part series, so that's very much something there. But it might be a while before any other Tales-related stuff, because there's just so many games that I'm trying my best here to get through really fast. But yeah, let's see here. Elden Ring and Destiny 2 Witch Queen are going to consume your 2022. I'm not familiar with the latter. Also, nice. We got the static thingamabob there. So we could probably just bite here. Yeah, no, Ray, your house bill didn't know you were recording. I was recording a time-lapse at the time. Was the thing. So the recording that was happening was a bird's eye view time-lapse is what was being recorded with F1, the UI turned off. Yeah, okay. I guess this is the last time that we're using Byte. So you won't actually see any of the narration in the published videos, is the thing. I think in the first two episodes, I think the only things in the UI that have shown up before are like Tux joining the game in the first episode once, and Garvia being blown up by a creeper in the second one. Like, when I was in the middle of like talking and giving my spiel, it just comes up, Garvia 4 was blown up by a creeper, and it cracked me up. So that was a thing that happened there. But yeah, and yeah, there's Project Triangle Strategy that's actually releasing on my birthday. Like, there was one of the game series that's been really important to me growing up was the Sly Cooper trilogy. So I always played a Sly Cooper game on my birthday on this channel. So like 3 years ago, we did Sly 1. 2 years ago, or, well, no, sorry, 2 years ago, we did Sly 1. 1 year ago, we did Sly 2, and then this year was when we did Sly 3, and we finished off the trilogy. And we're never doing Sly 4. I've rambled during, gosh darn it, I didn't mean to jump down here. I've rambled during my Assassin's Creed Rogue playthrough about why what the heck is that? Well, I'm never gonna play Sly 4. So anybody that's interested in the reasons behind that, there's probably some episode in my Assassin's Creed Rogue series titled something along the lines of Sly 4 sucks. For anyone who's curious. But because the trilogy was done, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do about for 2022, you know? Because it was like, this trilogy is done. Part of me was honestly thinking about doing it again. Like, just keep on doing the trilogy over and over and over again on my birthday each time. So I do like Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoon is the first game again for like 2022. And then like 2023 would be Sly 2, and then, you know, the next year after that would be Sly 3. Did I say Sly 3 for the prior year? Whatever, I'm getting myself all mixed up and stuff. But I was thinking about doing something like that. But then it was announced that Project Triangle Strategy is actually releasing on my birthday for 2022, so like, I'll do that instead. The decision has been made for me, so that works it out. I'm still not sure what I'll do in future years. I might potentially do Roller Coaster Tycoon related stuff, or maybe I will just loop Roller Coaster Tycoon, Sly Cooper over again. I haven't quite made up my mind. I like the hair flick of that thingamabob. And there's a Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shine Pearl official art book. Huh. I'd be intrigued to see what that's like. What about the Mystery Dungeon series? That's another thing where it's like, I'll do it eventually, but I'm not exactly in a rush. It's one of those things that's on the list of like, for sure, eventually, but there's so many other things that like I'm prioritizing other things. Also, like I saw the comment earlier, but didn't read it out. like verbally of haven't seen gameplay of many Zelda games, so watching it here would be a cool experience for you to see. It'll happen. It'll for sure happen. Just maybe not 2022, because 2022 is gonna be like last little smidges of Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity, and then Breath of the Wild sequel consume my life. Like, I don't want to risk starting something, I don't want to risk starting another Zelda game in 2022, and then it's like, surprise, here's a Breath of the Wild sequel, and it's like, oh, I guess I gotta commit to that now, and, you know, I have that weird, that weird kind of situation, you know? That kind of be like if after I beat this game, I start a new Pokemon game right before Legends Arceus. Like that, no, that's not happening. So I don't want to run into that situation for Zelda. I'm sure we'll for sure be doing more Zelda games on the channel here at some point. It just might have to be in like 2023 is what it might have to be. Maybe apart from the Switch thing. There's always so many games. As for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, there is 4 games in that series, 5 if you count like Rescue Team's remake, and Link has every page of the art book. Really? Because if so, I could use some of these at thumbnails. Would be the thing. Because I love doing like some cool official art backgrounds for that. Does this look like stuff I could use in thumbnails? Art book, huh? That's 19 pages. Oh, if it's just pictures someone took with their phone like that, there's no way that I can use that in thumbnails there then. But interesting. If there's like digital versions of these, of the actual art panels, the art panels do look really good though. If there's like digital versions of these on the interwebs somewhere, I definitely use them in thumbnails for this series, but there probably isn't. That was the same kind of thing that happened with my Metroid Dread playthrough. There were some really, really cool backgrounds in the art book for that, but I don't think they were like digitally like anywhere, and I couldn't use them in thumbnails for my Metroid Dread series as such. I was debating about taking just like really, really aligned pictures with my phone anyway and using them as backgrounds, because some of the arts for the Metroid Dread art book was really, really good, and I really wanted to use them in thumbnails, but, you know. Item! Yes! I was like, this gotta be like an item there or something, right? Sweet. Let's go up here. But yeah, when it comes to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, there's the 4 games. There's Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1, Rescue Team, 2, Explorers, 3, Gates to Infinity, and 4, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Now, I have actually done Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, like, in the early days of my channel, I played through Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1, 2, and 4. I didn't do Gates, because I'm not too big a fan of Gates, but it's been a long time since I played it, and I will do it eventually, methinks. Hi, friendo. You. One look at you tells me you're a real contender. So, at some point, like, when I did Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1, 2, and 4 back in the day, I just did the main game, and then that was it. And, you know, it was my early days of content creation. And, I wasn't exactly super adept at it yet or anything like that, and the quality sucks. So, because usually, if I do a playthrough and I don't do the post-game, usually I would just like do the post-game later or something like that if I wound up, you know, returning to it. Like in our Pokemon Platinum playthrough, we did the main game and then we took like a several-month break and then we came back and we did all the post-game and such, as an example. Don't! Oh, yes! Yes. But when it comes to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, that was like the very, very beginning of me starting out as like a content creator. Like, I was very new as a content creator back then, so the quality sucks back then. So rather than, you know, just going back and doing the post game to a playthrough from 3 years ago, I just do the entire thing from the beginning again. I know I've mentioned this before even during this playthrough, so apologies for like anybody that's heard this several times or whatever. Yeah, I know it's gonna ask me to swap again in a hot second if I want to. Freaking Volt Switch. My, oh my. I'm gonna send out Carnivine. Okay, so we'll go ahead and send out, like, Akira. Sure. But yeah, so one day I'll do them all properly, and including Gates, so that, you know, all the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games are done on the channel. Maybe not the, weird Wii spin-off thingamabobs that were Japan exclusive, but there are English translations for. I don't know if I do those. Maybe? I'd certainly think about it. But, when it comes to the status of Mystery Dungeon, I would redo the Blue Rescue Team playthrough, but Rescue Team DX exists and is just a better game in like almost every way. I was dropping frames there briefly. And when we did Rescue Team DX, we should we try this? We try War. I should teach you some TMs is what I should do. When we did Rescue Team DX, I did the freaking full game was a thing. I think the only things that I didn't do was like recruit Lucario and achieve like the highest rank. But we did like all the dungeons. We recruited every legendary Pokemon. We even got the shiny Celebi. Like we did next to everything for Rescue Team DX. So because of that, I don't feel compelled to... Oh yeah, this might not have been the best strat. Because of that, I don't actually feel compelled to go back to Rescue Team. Because I already did like all the things I needed to with like Rescue Team DX, you know? So there's no reason to go back to that. So out of the 4 Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games of 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 is the only one that is like, done. We're not going back to that. That's done. We're through. We did the thing. It has been done. The thing has been done. So that's the only one out of the 4 that like I'm for sure like done with on the channel. I guess like no promises just in case I ever feel like coming back to Rescue Team DX if I'm feeling spicy one day, but most likely that's the only one that's very done. 2 and 4 need to be redone, and 3 needs to be done in the first place. Yeah, so I probably would be starting off with Explorers of Sky. Not necessarily because that would be like the first one in like 2, 3, 4. Well, I guess sort of partially. I'd probably start like a playlist like I have for some other playthroughs, like I'll have individual playthroughs for individual games. Like this game has its own playlist, but there's also a playlist for like all the Pokemon main series stuff that we've done on this channel. I would probably do like a playlist on the channel that's like all the Mystery Dungeon stuff that we've done on the channel, you know, and whatnot, so they could help to be in that order and whatnot. All our Mystery Dungeon adventures playlist, you know. I think that playlist already exists. It's just not like linked anywhere or linked to anything, is what I think it is. Yeah, that doesn't help me in any way here, I don't think right now. So, and the other reason is because Explorers, if there's gonna be another like DX, you know, remake of a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, it can only be Explorers. Like, and I theorized in my Pokemon Mystery Dungeon video essay about how like, why would they remake Rescue Team, you know, the thing that didn't sell as well as Explorers anyway, unless they were planning on remaking both within this pair and just, you know, remaking Rescue Team first and then Explorers. So I do have my hopes up for an Explorers DX, and I think that it would make a lot of sense where, you know how we played Pokemon Platinum before we played this? It'd be a similar situation to that, where it's like, I'd want to have like a full and proper playthrough of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, if before a Rescue Team Explorers DX ever happened. If it ever happens. If it ever happens, I'd want to have like a full playthrough of the original game done first, you know. The same reason why we played Platinum before this, for like comparisons purposes, you know? So that'd be that. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I think that there's definitely a decent chance of it happening. But come on, I'm pressing up on the D-pad. I promise I am, but I just go straight left anyway. So yeah, Explorers of Sky would happen first whenever we get around to that for 2 reasons. 1, to, you know, have that done in the order of like 2, 3, 4, potentially. Like, if we have the playlist of the whole Mystery Dungeon stuff we've done on this channel, it would be Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 4, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1's remake, and then back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2 again anyway, so I guess the order already probably doesn't matter too much technically because of the weird thing that we've done up to this point with the early days of my channel, but whatever, I suppose. But the bigger reason is because Explorers has a decent chance of getting a remake. I don't think that Gates and Super have a decent chance of getting a remake, and if they ever do, it wouldn't be anytime soon. Explorers is the only one that has like a pretty decent chance of a remake, so it makes a lot of sense to cover that first to, you know, just be at the ready, just in case, you know? Just in case we need to. Oh, man. Yeah, boy, oh boy. Sure, we'll do that. I'll look at the TMs now, actually. I hate how I have to, like, hover over these. We can learn Rock Tomb. That's interesting. Let's see here. Like, I probably do things like a Surf and whatnot. Attract. Depends what the gender of their Pokemon might be, I guess. Attacks if you use your moves after the target, this attack's power will be doubled. Interesting. 1.1 of your reasons to keep on living was to see if Explorers will ever get a remake. Now you have so much hope ever since Rescue Team DX was announced and released. Bless you, appreciate it. Oh man, that is the kind of thing where I don't know if I can like properly respond to that effectively, but you know, I know that things are better nowadays over there and whatnot, but still don't know how to properly respond in a way. Whoops, gosh darn it. Let's see here. Yeah, you're more of a physical attacker than a special attacker, just making sure. So let's see here. So Brian is special. These are physical. Could always do something like payback or something like that for funsies. Surf is special, but it's also just a really good move in general. Can't learn Shadow Claw. That would have been neat. Strength, nah. Let's see here. Iron Tail. I like the sound of Iron Tail. Whoops. I thought I selected Soleil for a hot second there. I mean, I did select Soleil. That might be cool on Soleil, but I'm gonna... Gosh darn it! This navigation sucks. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this, because that could be cool. I'm taking off double hit for now, methinks. As well, I might actually keep on Aqua Jet, just in case I need to, like, cheekily take off someone's HP, you know? Way back then, but yeah, game really means a lot to you. Sorry for bringing it up. Don't worry about that. Yeah, Explorers definitely means a whole lot to, me. I'm still wearing the thingamabob, the time gear. I think it'd be really cool to see Explorers stuff. We shall see. So this is the physical, thingamabob. So because you're more physical, maybe we should have you learn Waterfall. I mean, if you learn something like Hydro Pump, the whole reason that we had you here is because of the, like, funny moves that, you know, are, like, the special attack thingamabob, so, you know, I guess, we won't even be able to see the wacky animations like this. But, you know, but yeah. So, I don't know if we'll get to that next year, or if it's gonna be, like, sometime after that. Rock Tomb, huh? Rock type move. Or maybe we could do, like, payback. Thief. It seals the target's held item simultaneously. Can't seal anything if it already holds an item. That could be very interesting for the league, but you can't even learn, so now I'm looking at it. Let's see here. That sounds like it could be cool. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Something like this. Yeah, I want to, if we learn something like Hydro Pump down the line, that'd be pretty funny. I've seen the animations and it cracks me up. Alright. Darn it! Oh, I can just take it anyway. Okay. Oh, gosh darn it. There's a lot of games on, like, the to-do list to do eventually. I was mentioning earlier this stream how there's also, like, a lot of game series and IPs that, like, I've never played before but very much want to one day. Like, I think a lot of the really big ones that I've never played but want to are things like Metal Gear, Mass Effect. I like to try out Persona and Shin Megami Tensei at some point. Are things I'd very much like to try. What else? I do have a list on a thingamabob here. What other things have I never played before but I want to? A bunch of the other Fire Emblem games I've never played before. There's Metroid Prime that I was mentioning before. I'd like to do the Fallout series at some point. At least New Vegas and 4. Maybe 3 if I can get it working on my computer. Maybe. Not like the older Fallout games, but those ones at least. I'd rather not do Fallout 76. I'll pass on that front. But at least New Vegas and 4. Maybe 3. Maybe. So now we get the hell out of here. What else is on my list? What? That was weird. Let's see here. Might do Donkey Kong Country stuff eventually. I'd like to do Xenosaga and Xenogears. That'd be pretty neato. F-Zero might be interesting. Another one that I have written down is the Telltale Walking Dead games. Those would be neat to do at some point. I do have to, like, do Xenoblade Chronicles X on the channel here at some point. That's what I definitely do have to do. I'm gonna reset the boulders that are down there. Methinks. Too many games, too little time. So many video games that I'd like to have done on this channel. So many good video games out there. Why does it have to be so many dang good video games, you know? but we're doing one thing at a time, and right now that one thing at a time is this. So, here we are finishing off this. Like, when it comes to how much of a series that we do off of this, I've mentioned before, I'll mention it again. I think that we'll do, like, most of the post-game, but we won't treat it like Platinum, where we try to catch, like, every single legendary Pokemon. Doesn't Xenoblade X have a ton of side quests or post-game? Oh, yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles X is, like, you want to do, like, a casual playthrough of that game, you're probably going to dump in, like, 100 hours. You want 100% the game, you gotta be ready to put in over 300 hours, most likely. Like, with the way that it handles grinding, it feels kind of like an online RPG, is the way that feels like it's with its grinding and how much there is to do. Except it's single player. It's kind of the way Xenoblade Chronicles X is. So, like, I wanted to do it for a good while. I was even thinking about doing it late this year. But with the stuff that came up, plans for that went on hold. That's something that I'll only be able to pick up, like, when I'm, like, really, really open. I don't think it'd be over 200 parts. I don't know how much I do, but over 100 parts. Oh, yeah, definitely that at least. Like, I don't think I'd 100% it. If I 100%ed it, it might be over 200 parts, but that would only be if, like, all the grinding was on camera, you know? But it'd be long. It would be long. Is that why it's an underrated game? Why it's an underrated game is just because it, was really good in some respects and sucked in others, is what it is. Like, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are really, really story-driven games and have, like, a really incredible story, which, you know, I would highly... Like, if you like games like freaking Tales of Arise, Guzma, I would very highly recommend Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 at some point. Yeah, because X is kind of like a spin-off in a way. Xenoblade 1 and 2 are, like, connected. Like, they tell very different stories, but they are connected, and they're the two story-driven games that, you know, tell a linear story. And, oh, come on! And there is, you know, there's a lot of areas to explore in a vast world in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. But Xenoblade Chronicles X is kind of like a spin-off in a way. It doesn't focus on story. Its story kind of sucks, I'm gonna be honest, for Xenoblade X. Xenoblade X's story... Oh, played both of them already. Okay, well, you have in that case. I apologize. But Xenoblade X, its story is kind of eh. First ever game on the Switch. Nice, gotcha then. But Xenoblade X, its story is bad, but, like, it's good enough that it gets you intrigued by it and make you genuinely want to know how it resolves, and then it never actually resolves. Like, it has a cliffhanger ending. It doesn't even end properly. So, you know, and Xenoblade Chronicles X came out in, what, like, 2015? So it's 6 years later, and it's still a cliffhanger ending. Like, Xenoblade 1 and 2 are, like, connected and have, like, the overarching story kind of thing, whereas Xenoblade Chronicles X is unrelated. It might be connected, they might potentially tie it together with some future games, maybe, but as is, it is not yet, you know, canon to the overall Xenoblade picture. And, you know, it's been hinted at for a good while that maybe there'd be a Xenoblade Chronicles X2 because of the cliffhanger at the end of Xenoblade Chronicles X. But now, after the additional epilogue in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, it seems more likely that there will be a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 before we ever see a Xenoblade Chronicles X2. Which I'm really looking forward to that, if that's what winds up happening. But at the same time, I've been really irked for the past 6 years about that cliffhanger ending. Whoops, I didn't quite mean to do that, but whatever, it's fine. Man. Take a measure of how much you've raised your Pokemon. I like the game, but the only thing gave you a really bad taste was the jiggle physics felt really weirded off. I don't mind them in games, like, because technically it's realism from our perspective, but Xenoblade 2 just, like, turned up the physics, like, way above what you would think that it would ever realistically be. Which, it's kind of funny in a way. But, oh my goodness. You can't, like, in other games where it's more subtle, it's like you might not notice it if it exists, but Xenoblade 2, you can't not notice it, because it's, like, so over the top. Later on in Xenoblade 2, completely blind part, you regret it, because the jiggle physics was so made out a lot. What do you mean regret it because of jiggle physics? I don't think that's something to, like, regret playing a game over. It just shows that, you know, the game developers had, like, their own idea for the characters of this world. Maybe it was something kind of weird like that, but you know, it's nothing that, like, necessarily makes it a bad game, you know? Oh, there's another paralysis. Had a lot of fun playing the game. The story was incredible. There's a lot of plot holes in it, too. I think that a lot of it also just, like, more so connects to Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Like, the story of Xenoblade 2 makes a lot more sense having played Xenoblade 1 first. Is also the case. But with X, like, yeah, it was very off, but, you know, something like that isn't typically gonna be, like, a make or break thing, unless you're a, you know, crazy Twitter user that's like, oh my gosh, how could you? This is such an unrealistic depiction. You're being so rude to everybody in my group everywhere and stuff like that. But yeah, freaking whatever the heck. But Xenoblade X, it did not focus on story. Story was like a side thing. Xenoblade 1 and 2 are an open world game. The Xenoblade 1 and 2, sorry, are a linear game that focus on telling like a story start to finish. Xenoblade Chronicles X, on the other hand, is an open world game that focused on like having a world for you to explore and be able to go on missions and whatnot. It has 12 story chapters, and like after you do a story chapter, or are they called chapters? I'm pretty sure they're called chapters. Then you have like a set of requirements to fulfill before you can continue the story with the next chapter. And they'll usually be things like, do this quest, raise this party member's affinity to so-and-so, so-and-so, reach like 30% completion in this section of the world, stuff like that. So you need to take like great spans of time between story in that, and doing additional story would keep on unlocking new abilities for exploration as you went on. So because the story wasn't a massive focus, it kind of felt like the story was more so like, you know, both a tool to get you intrigued and also the means through which you mark your major milestones for like your progress and how you're unlocking new abilities and whatnot, for example. Like, after playing Xenoblade 1, 2, but don't mean the parts of Xenoblade 2 that had to do with Xenoblade 1. Well, it's something that we can definitely discuss another time. It's been a long time since I've, like, properly thought about the thingamabob. Part of it also, like, makes more sense if you, like, understand the lore of Xenosaga and Xenogears, interestingly enough, which is also how people have connected Xenoblade Chronicles X to the, bigger picture. It's like a weird whole thing that makes me want to actually play Xenogears and Xenosaga at some point, where it's like, they're not connected one for one, but they're like very, very, very similar to Xenoblade in terms of the overarching story, and it's very fascinating. But yeah, Xenoblade X did not have a massive focus on its story. I was more so just like, here's a vast open world for you to explore, and the story was just like the means through which you'd be unlocking new abilities and whatnot that you'd be able to do from time to time. Yeah, that's I feel like stuff like where the conduit came from is more so like where things like future Xenoblade titles are most likely gonna come in and explain, leaving stuff like that, leaving you curious about what future titles may hold. But there was a conduit in Xenosaga as well that looks exactly the same as the conduit, only it was called something else in Xenosaga. I think it was called the Zohar, if I recall. But the conduit existed in Xenosaga as well. And Xenosaga actually gives you the answer for like where the conduit was discovered, whereas Xenoblade doesn't, which is interesting. Only in Xenosaga it's where the Zohar was discovered as something different. So that's interesting. Has something intriguing there. So I feel like it's stuff that'll probably be answered in thingamabobs. Saw that, but it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was golden, right? At least in some of the Xenosaga cutscenes I've seen. I'm fairly certain. That's sure boopity bop with Spark. But yeah, in terms of Xenoblade Chronicles X, every time you do a story chapter, it's gonna be like harder and harder to fulfill the requirements for like the next story chapter. Like the game seems to expect more and more of you between each. So like there's 12 chapters total, but you'll do like the first 3 chapters like very close to back, like super fast, and then it'll take between chapters 4 to 6, there'll be like a pretty decent amount of time that you have to take between story chapters doing other stuff. And then up to chapter 9, it's like, okay, now you're really taking a lot of time. And then, you know, from chapter 9 to 12, it's like, okay, time for you to like really, really be like filling out and decking out the world to be able to finish off this game. So, you know, the time between story chapters is longer each time. And the way that it spaces out your main abilities is very intriguing. Like, one of the main mechanics of Xenoblade Chronicles X, to the point that it's literally on the cover of the game, is the Skells, these giant mechanical robots that you ride around in, which kind of remind me of the Mechon in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, in that, you know, the face Mechon would have like a pilot and such. The Skells in Xenoblade Chronicles X are kind of like that. So there's little things like that that kind of like relate and whatnot. Or things like Xenoblade Chronicles X also has Nippon, for example. There's things like that where it's like they're related, but they're not like canonically connected or anything like that. Zora was physical and golden, but the one from Xenoblade didn't look like it had physical form. It seemed more like it had an energy kind of form. How what? There was a physical like golden conduit in Xenoblade 2. Was the thing. It was never shown in Xenoblade 1, but it was there in Xenoblade 2. Hi. I've heard that apparently if you mash A like super fast here, you can just like skip this trainer. But yeah, the way that it spaces out your main ability is very interesting because Skells, these giant mechs that you're able to like ride around and fly in and use to explore this world, you only unlock them after chapter 6. So like this super massive vast open world, you need to handle it on foot for like a really long time, like a very significant part of your playthrough. You need to be handling this whole thing on foot. So it makes you really, really appreciate how much the Skell changes your life when you get it. Like, as opposed to you just getting the Skell from the get-go and, you know, you're exploring it in the giant mech and then sometimes you go on the ground and it's like, oh, I guess I have to be on the ground now. No, you go through a massive chunk of the game on the ground and then finally after chapter 6 you unlock Skells and it's like, oh my god! And it's like, it just changes your life. That makes you really appreciate how much of a difference it makes. Oh, it's even crazier. Is like when you first unlock them, you don't even have flight with them. Like it's just ground-based stuff. It's after chapter 9 that you unlock the ability to fly with your Skell. So once again, you unlock that, it's the kind of thing where it's like, oh my god! But it like absolutely changes your life, you know? Whoops, I did not mean to do that. I hit the bumper by accident. I accidentally hit the bumper. That was a mistake. So, you know, there's a lot of games out there that just like give you like their big mechanics and like their cover kind of stuff like right from the get-go and whatnot. But Xenoblade Chronicles X will like taunt you with it by, you know, promoting it as one of the main game mechanics, even having it on the cover. And as you're going around like the main hub area, you see other people with these giant robots all the time just there taunting you. But you don't get to have one yourself. It's only after you've really, really worked at it for so long that you finally get it. And once you finally get it, you like really appreciate how different it makes your life in that game. And it's really cool. Like, Xenoblade Chronicles X is a very fascinating game to analyze in a lot of different ways. But it definitely does a good job at making sure that you really respect and appreciate the abilities that you unlock, because it changes your life so much. But yeah, imagine if you could only use the Blazing Sword a little over halfway through the game. Yeah, for sure. Like, I was mentioning how, you know, the chapters, it is longer between further chapters, like, with each time. So, chapter 6 out of 12 isn't really, like, the midpoint in terms of, you know, your playthrough, because it's gonna take longer and longer for each subsequent chapter. But chapter 9, Unlocking Flight, that is definitely gonna be, like, over halfway through your playthrough, unless you're trying to do, like, everything. So, you know, that's certainly something. Imagine if you could only use the Blazing Sword a little over halfway through the game with Tales of Arise. Yeah, that would certainly be something. Does it make a good design? In Xenoblade Chronicles X's case, I would definitely say that it does. Because it isn't really too much of a hassle to explore with without a Skell on your feet and such. Like, it's not super unbearable. I feel like if you had a Skell from the get-go in Xenoblade Chronicles X, then going around on foot would feel kind of unbearable. But by getting used to it, it makes it feel like this is the standard and this is just life. And it makes it feel like Skells are like such an incredible upgrade and like, wow, this is crazy, and it makes you love it. Instead of it just being like, okay, this is the standard, walking sucks, you know, something like that. And the world of Xenoblade Chronicles X is very, very vast. It has 3 main areas to it. And there's no loading zones anywhere for that. Like, if you, like, you can just straight up run from one side of the world to the, wait. I think that, no. Is there loading zones for, Noctil? No, there isn't. No, there isn't, I don't think. There's no loading zones. You can just run from one side of the world to the other. And I think if your character just runs full speed, like, not a Skell, is on foot and just runs, I think if you take it as like a straight shot, it's like a 10-minute run or something like that to go across that entire world. Xenoblade Chronicles X is like a 23 gigabyte game or something like that. It's freaking massive. And it has an optional day one patch of 20 gigabytes, where if you install the optional day one patch, it makes the game load faster. That's it. It just makes the game load faster. That's all that it is. 20 gigabytes to make it load faster. So if you don't have the space for it, it's not like this. It's not like Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, where literally half the game is behind, you know, the day one patch. And Xenoblade Chronicles X's case, it's like, hey, here's like a free DLC that's kind of like a day one patch thing. If you have the space for it, great, download it and your game will load faster. If not, you're not missing any content. You just have to wait longer for it to load. So, you know, if you count that all together, Xenoblade Chronicles X is an over 40 gigabyte game, which is absolutely insane. Maybe I'll take out Astonish is maybe what I'll do. Or Bite or something. Maybe I'll take out Bite. We have better dark type moves elsewhere anyway. It is freaking insane. So Xenoblade Chronicles X isn't talked about, like, one, because the Wii U didn't do anywhere near as well as the Wii and Switch. That's definitely a big thing for sure. But also because it's a very, very different game. Like, it still has like the same oh, look how cool this background is. It still has the same kind of idea of turn-based combat and whatnot, and it's really interesting how Xenoblade 1, X, and 2 have all had like different styles to their, not turn-based combat, their real-time combat, but still been very similar. It's more similar to Xenoblade 1's real-time combat than it is Xenoblade 2's, but especially when you've got like two different movesets in and out of the skells, which is really interesting. And you've got like two weapons that you switch between with your melee weapon and your ranged weapon, which is typically things like swords and guns that you can switch between with the click of a button. It's really neato and really satisfying. But Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are all about telling a story, start to finish. Like, they do have like their vast areas in them and to explore and such, but Xenoblade Chronicles X just like places you in the world and is like, yeah, there's progression here and like a story and like stuff to do. But for the most part, it's just like, here's your world. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild in that perspective, except it's a bit more linear than Breath of the Wild because it does have like a chapter by chapter story, and it does actually ask you to do requirements to unlock the next story chapter, like reach 30% completion in Primordia, install so and so many data probes, stuff like that. But it's is interesting. Gotta head off for now, gotta get some sleep for class tomorrow. Haven't seen much gameplay of Xenoblade Chronicles X, but since you have the Wii U, might check it out sometime or just wait for you to play it. I definitely highly recommend the game, as long as you don't go into it with like high expectations for the story. The gameplay is really, really good, and there's so much to do, and it's freaking crazy. And the music is very different than Xenoblade 1 and 2, but it's still an incredible jammer all the same. Really, really darn good. No, I wouldn't want to do that then. I guess I'll just go ahead and do this. But yeah, take care, Guzma. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out, and hope you have a good day with class in the morning and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely really look forward to the day that we do Xenoblade Chronicles X on this channel. But it will not be for a good while. Like, it will not be until I know that, like, I am very open to have, like, a long-term commitment. Because that would become a very long-term commitment, you know? So I have to be very much at the ready. And fun fact, Xenoblade Chronicles X was actually one of those games that I played, like, right at the beginning of my channel. So I do technically still have VODs out there of it. You can't find it on the YouTube channel anymore. It was deleted. It still exists on my computer, though. The original VODs of me playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. So I could, in theory, continue with that playthrough if it wasn't for the fact that my save data for Xenoblade Chronicles X is on here. This is the USB stick that was like the extension kind of drive thing up to my Wii U. This is what happened to it. As you can see, the actual plastic layer that goes around the chip there is completely broken off. It's just a loose chip. So somewhere on this stick is my save data. An old playthrough for Xenoblade Chronicles X. But it's like this, and I don't know if there's any way to fix it. If there's any way that you can get like that little shell around the end of a USB to just go over this, because I cannot insert this like this. It is not possible, so freaking sucks to suck. But considering it was like the second playthrough I ever did on the channel, it's something that I want to redo anyway. It's something that would take redoing. Plus, I never actually finished it back then, so, you know, I wouldn't want to continue something from like that many years ago now. I do still have, I had 7 episodes back then, each of which was like an hour long or something like that. 7 episodes it was. If the day comes that I cover Xenoblade Chronicles X on the channel, then when the day comes that I've beaten Xenoblade Chronicles X on the channel, then I'm sure I'll upload those 7 episodes as like bonus episodes, like a little bonus at the end or something like that. Like here's a blast of the past, you know. I would, if Xenoblade Chronicles X was ported to the Switch, I'd freaking buy that instantly, and that's where I'd do my playthrough, like right on the spot. That would be so cool. People have asked some head honcho or director or something at Monolith Soft, I forget who it was, about the idea of porting Xenoblade Chronicles X to the Switch. Like, have you considered it? And I think his answer was something along the lines of like, yeah, we've definitely considered it. And then the question was like, okay, why haven't you done it yet then? And they're like, money. And it's like, yeah, about that. But yeah, go into the same as you did for Xenoblade 2. And thanks for cheering up, by the way. I don't know if you want to talk about what's going on, but appreciate you helping with my spirits. I got me away from Discord for a while too, though, so I hope that's okay. But yeah, take care and have a good one. I appreciate that, Guzma. If you do want to talk about things, know that we'll be around anytime that you want to have a chat about stuff. Does your belt glow when you're flexing, or is that just a weird trippy light? I think it's a weird trippy light. But yeah, I do hope that you have an awesome day tomorrow, and you take care, friendo. I could try to find this, is what I could do. If I go into my playthroughs, I keep a folder for freaking every single game playthrough that I've ever done, or like might be doing one day, that I've like planned on for sure doing. And I have one for Xenoblade Chronicles X. So, you know, I have stuff prepared, like some backgrounds using thumbnails and the title and stuff like that. So this is where I have like the directory for my Xenoblade Chronicles X playthrough. But I have this folder right here. That was the stuff from 2018. Look at my thumbnails back then. Look at this. Oh my goodness, I was such a pro at making thumbnails. Put a big, like, cropped out PNG of my hat right there. And then I'll just battle this. No, I won't battle this magic. I'll run away for now. Big cropped PNG of my hat with that pendant. And then a big 1 right through the center. That's where it was. I had, like, 0.1 parts back then. 3, 4, 5. That's where it was at. Those were the days. Those were the early streaming days right there. So I guess I had like some folders from these were like some of the actual VODs. I don't know if I ran them through like my video editing editor back then, and that's why it says parts here. And these are like the actual raw recordings of just being downloaded. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so I guess it was 7 streams, 7 episodes. How long is this? This is 3 hours. How many hours did I put into my 2018 Xenoblade X playthrough? 3? Oh my goodness, 7.5 then. So this would be about 8.5. So this would be about 11.5. Oh my good gracious. So this would be about 13 then. And then this would be 14. 14 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles X content that once existed on my channel, but I deleted it for 2 reasons. 1, the quality was super bad, and I never actually finished the playthrough. Like, it was, the playthrough was never actually finished. It was just left like that. And it literally can't continue from where it left off because of the stupid situation with the USB. And it's also so long ago now that, like, why would I do that instead of starting it fresh? So back then, I deleted it. If this was still on the channel today, I don't think I'd delete it. Like, with my modern mentality I have towards the channel, if this still exists on my channel, I don't think I'd delete it. I think I'd leave it anyway and just leave a little disclaimer that, like, I'll come back and do this over one day. Is what I do. But even though I don't think I'd delete it from the channel, I don't think I would, like, re-upload it, like, now. I think the proper play here is do a full playthrough of Xenoblade Chronicles X at some point, and then once that's done, then these are bonus episodes, you know, upload at the end. Like, I feel like that's the better play here. Like, it wouldn't make sense to re-upload it, like, now out of the blue, you know, that, I'll pass on that. It'll be bonus episodes later. This was the early days. Did this open on another screen? I hear my voice and my awful microphone.
Playing Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy? What am I talking about?
Yes, phone.
Where is this? Oh, this is over on this screen. Let's drag it over here. I had to switch my switch my input. Man, these were the early days. Remember when I used to have like recent follower and recent sub on the screen?
Or if we get...
Oh, I was playing some
more
Smash
people.
at the end of that, I guess. Wait, then why is this
Also
under
bad.
Xenoblade Chronicles X Part 1? Was I really that carefree and dumb of a content creator back then that under whatever. Editing magic can fix things anyway. But this is
I can't even see the weird helicopter.
this is are the really early days of the channel. This is where it was at. So like,
Probe that I get to now.
oh yeah, I was
Level.
I dressed up as a
But I don't
diver
think
because it was
that's what the
funny.
M skill is.
And I just wanted to find the pool, I think. I think that was the joke that I had. Yeah, you had stuff like this where it's like explore 30% of X area, stuff like that. For like progressing and stuff. But it was fun
No, I
to just
guess
explore
already.
around. One day, we will do Xenoblade Chronicles X properly. And those videos there will be like, whoops, like bonus episodes at the end or something. If Xenoblade Chronicles X does get ported to the Switch, I would just hop on that like instantly. I don't think it ever will, but if it did, freaking take my money.